Welcome to the Sisterhood of Sweat. I'm here today with Dave Ruel. Dave Ruel is a former competitive physique athlete turned serial entrepreneur, author, speaker, and leadership mentor. After founding and growing multi-million-dollar online companies in the field of health, fitness, and sports nutrition for nearly a decade, Dave saw the dark side of entrepreneurship gradually rob him of his freedom, leaving him burned out and unfulfilled. Refusing to conform to a broken business culture that promotes workaholism and nonstop hustle, Dave created a sustainable structure and systems for his life and business to reclaim his freedom without sacrificing the growth of his companies. Fueled by his passion for entrepreneurship and human performance, he launched EFIC, an innovative leadership development company that helps busy entrepreneurs maximize their impact and freedom. Following his efficiency first philosophy to entrepreneurial productivity and performance, Dave developed a powerful methodology that he sums up in the best selling book Done by Noon: How to Achieve More by Noon Than Other Entrepreneurs Do in a Full Day. EFIC systems, frameworks, and tools, including the EFIC Planner, are now used in thousands of entrepreneurs all around the world. EFIC has also built a fast-growing network of EFIC certified partners who teach the methodology on 3 continents in countries including Australia, the United Kingdom, Norway, Canada, and USA. Today, we just really dive into burnout, uh, overwhelm, being lost in the forest because you're doing too many tasks and you don't know where to start first, feeling like you're just buried and you don't have any direction. You don't, like, again, I said, not knowing what task you want to accomplish first. Dave really gives us the outline of how to get our life and our business and our priorities in order so that we can be more efficient and effective and have a life of freedom where we don't feel burnout, overwhelmed, and exhausted. I am so excited to welcome Dave Ruel to the show today. Welcome.
Hey, thank you, Linda. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Had my workout in today. It was a hit, and some light, not super heavy lifting today, giving my body movement, but a little bit of a break.
There you go. Sweat every day, even if it's just a little workout or a little thing, as long as you sweat, that's good.
Oh my gosh, yes, I definitely did sweat. This is going to sound grueling. We did 5 minutes of jumping rope with 5 minutes of burpees, 3 rounds.
There you go. There you go. I was in the gym this morning, so I wake up early. I woke up at 6 to get my workout in, and my oldest daughter is 7. She woke up early as well, so she met me in the gym, and so I'm like, "Do you want to work out with me?" And and she's like, "Yeah, but can I do the work? Can I call the workout?" Like, go for it, because she does gymnastics and she has like the gymnastics moves and warm-ups that she does. So she called the workout. So we did a whole lot of stretching, a lot of stretches that I couldn't do. She can do the split both ways. It's crazy. And then she had me do hundreds of jumping jacks and planks, and she tortured me. She's 7 years old.
So I love it. So she's already got it down. You guys have taught her well.
We put her in, so she, yeah, well, we're pretty active. My wife stays active, and we work out. We have a home gym here, and she does gymnastics. So she's used to do all her moves and everything else, like that she needs to do. And she is like, she's 7 years old. You should see her. Like she has a good genetics from her mom, I guess. She's like ripped. She has a six pack, and because of all the gymnastics that she's doing, it's pretty crazy. And her flexibility is pretty amazing. So yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not sure where that's going to go, but she's athletic.
gymnastics. Gymnastics will do it for you.
Oh my gosh. And I'm as flexible as a steel rod. So yeah, isn't pretty.
Well, we can all like learn to train different parts of our body, as well as we can learn to train different parts of our business. And I want you to give a backstory on how you started with an athletic career and wound up where you are writing your book Done by Noon.
Yeah, it's pretty long. It's a long story, but I've been, so I was a competitive bodybuilder for a while, amateur bodybuilder. I never got, to the pro level or anything like that. But, fitness was my passion. And in 2007, I met a man named Lee Hayward. And this man was actually making a living from his bodybuilding blog. Fun fact, he actually was the first guy to have a bodybuilding website on the internet. Like that's how advanced he was with his time, like at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember saying like, whoa, okay, how do you do that? And this is when I started learning about direct response marketing, about, building an online business, which I did, I started doing. And in 2009, I went full-time online. So we had, we still have like websites for fitness when it comes to nutrition. We have cookbooks, so anabolic cooking, metabolic cooking, and these became bestsellers pretty fast. And that was at a time before, like, there wasn't that much online at the time when it comes to fitness. So I built a pretty successful business on that end. Then I moved to publishing. So a lot of people, coaches and people, YouTube were starting to gain some stream at the time, and there were a lot of people who had followings on YouTube, but no way to monetize that. So we started an agency to help them, build their own online platforms and everything. Then I moved on to supplements. So I became a partner at Bioptimizers, and a company that we turned around. And eventually I sold the company back in 2016. And from there, I started coaching entrepreneurs who wanted to go online. And, one thing led to another. I realized that all entrepreneurs have pretty much the same problems when it comes to leading themselves. Like actually becoming an entrepreneur is a lot tougher than it looks. It's like becoming a bodybuilder. It's a lot of hours in the gym and a lot of planning and preparation and doing the right things. It's a lot of small things done right. And so I had developed tools for myself as a bodybuilder to really make the best out of it, which I transposed into my bodybuilding career. And these tools, pretty much, I started like coaching entrepreneurs with these tools. And this is how Ethic was born. And we launched the Ethic Planner, which is a planner for entrepreneurs, but inspired. The structure is very much inspired by the way you would structure an actual workout. And then I put the methodology in the book Done by Noon. And we're talking today. So there you go.
Well, let's tackle the first thing that I can think of when you're telling me the story about how you got started. It sounds like a lot. Were you in overwhelm? And how can we as entrepreneurs not get stuck in overwhelm?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing with entrepreneurship. Like no one teaches you how to be an entrepreneur. It's not something you're taught in school. And the problem is that, we get in business for a specific thing, and that thing is freedom, because usually we start a business to have more, freedom of time, but also more creative freedom. We want to create, what we want, and we want to make a good living out of it. We want financial freedom as well. But the problem is that, as business happens, and what happens is that there's a phenomenon called the drift. So little by little, we start going off the path that we had set for ourselves. And this is when, we end up completely off road in the middle of the forest, completely lost, not knowing where we are anymore, because it's completely our day-to-day lives is completely different from what we anticipated in the first place, right? So there's a lot of little things that entrepreneurs, do on a daily basis that we didn't anticipate. And Done by explains just that, how to realign yourself with your vision of success, with your what really you see for yourself, and creating a path to go there step by step. So down from the big vision down to the actual movements to accomplish that.
What are the 5 truths of an entrepreneur? I noticed that you had 5 truths outlined in the book. And before you dive into that, I really like how you said in the book that you never made a conscious decision to be an entrepreneur. And I can relate. I never made that conscious decision. I never started my business with a business plan.
Yeah.
So that would be the 6th truth. No.
It's true. I feel like nowadays everybody calls themselves entrepreneurs before they actually are entrepreneurs. I don't know, like when I started my first business, it was not something that you would put forward. It was just, hey, I got this solution to an actual problem and I'm gonna sell it. And then the term entrepreneur became like more and more mainstream, and now it's actually, people now understand, okay, yes, I'm an entrepreneur, or they want to be an entrepreneur, right? But I think entrepreneurs who have been in it for a while all know the same patterns, right? So I talked about the 5 truths, but when you talk to any entrepreneur out there, they're going to tell you that this happens, right? So I talked about, first of all, why most entrepreneurs start: freedom, right? I think it all comes back to money, time, and I think this is when you, like, how you see real entrepreneurs is that real entrepreneurs want to create. Like, they're not just in there for the money or the time. They actually love to create, right? And that leads to a second truth, to another truth, which is that entrepreneurs love to work. I get a kick out of, like, for example, like the 4-hour work week, where people think that it's for lazy entrepreneurs. It's not. It's based on the desire of actually reclaiming our time, reclaiming our freedom that we've lost, that we wanted, but that because we drifted, we were not able to get that freedom, right? So another truth is that drift happens, and it will happen, right? Like, it's not a clear, like, you can have the best crafted business plan in the world, you're still going to drift, right? And it will happen based on personalized circumstances, business circumstances, things that happen you have no real control about, like, of what's going on. The problem is that people drift because they don't lead themselves properly. You can be, I don't know, like, for example, like, you can have anything going bad for you, or your gym. I mean, COVID time, for example, like gym closes, like there's gym closers. Well, guess what? The athlete will know what to do. The athlete will find a way to stay on path. The athlete will find a way to, eat X amount of protein per day. You know what I mean? There's always a way, to go about that. So, it happened, but drift happens. And that leads to another truth, is that work-life balance really doesn't exist, in a way that a big mistake that entrepreneurs do is that they see life and business as 2 separate things. And let's be honest, as entrepreneurs, like, it doesn't work like that. Like, you will bring, your stuff to the business and vice versa. And I talk more about work-life harmony, like a yin and a yang. You're always going to bring some within it. It just needs to be harmonious and not something that competes against each other, that your life competes against your business, etc. I feel like you need to see more as a holistic thing, and not just 2 separate entities, right? And the 5th root is that your priorities will change, want it or not, like in your entrepreneurial journey, priorities will evolve. When you kids, for example, like, I don't know if you have kids, Linda, but when you have kids, like, things change. Whether you want it or not, your priorities will change. Events in your life will make you change your priorities. things you can control, like a pandemic, will make you reconsider certain things in your life. There's so many things that will make you evolve. And the problem is that not having the flexibility to navigate through these changes and the changes of priorities, will cause the entrepreneurs to eventually get lost.
How can we set better priorities and then align our goals with that?
It's a great question. So, it all comes back to, first of all, evaluating what you're doing, evaluating how you're spending your time right now. Are you just putting out fires? Are you reacting to your business? Are you actually being proactive with your business? And the big problem is that, and especially when it comes to successful businesses, you will be faced with decisions to do daily, like things that will happen, tasks that will fall on your lap that you didn't anticipate, right? And the problem is that we tend to react to business versus being proactive when it comes to business. So we look at it from, first of all, an impact perspective where, okay, what types of tasks have the biggest impact on your business, but also like the amount of effort required to perform these tasks. Okay. So yes, time management is one thing, but energy management is another big issue amongst,
Yeah, that's huge.
well, it goes beyond rest. It goes with like how you perform your task. You're going to do, like, for example, like you can do a 1 rep max, it's going to take a lot of energy, where you can just do like curl 20-pound dumbbells, which we will not require that much energy. And you can do that for a long time, but it's all part of your workout. It's all part of what you need to do, but it's how you prioritize them. So we call like the two tasks that you need to prioritize the power moves. So first are the rocks. So the rocks are the tasks that are associated, they're project-based tasks. So these are tasks that you actually need to perform in order to innovate, in order to grow, in order to move the needle in your business, right? If you don't want to react, you need to anticipate, you need to be proactive with what's going on, and you need to keep building. If you stay the same in your business, well, guess what? Your business is not going to grow, right? And you're not going to be fulfilled, because obviously there's that element of creative freedom that you need to cultivate, right? So this is one type of task, and the other one, we call them routines. So routines are tasks that are associated with the proper functioning of your business. So the day-to-day operations per se. The problem is that the day-to-day operations end up becoming reactive tasks because we react to the day-to-day tasks. But there's these things that we need to do in our business that can be planned, that can be, processed, that can be built into procedures, and that can be outsourced, automated, or delegated, right? So we need to look at these tasks and look at our activity right now and start prioritizing based on the power moves, what's really going to move the needle. And, what we call the drifters, which is more of the reactive tasks, you eventually need to attend them. But the problem is that to prioritize these tasks, it's a rabbit hole. You're never going to stop, right? So by limiting the number of them and implementing the right systems in your business and your life in order, to account for these type of tasks is really what's going to make you reclaim, your time and your energy and your attention that you've lost along the way.
My business coach says systems are sexy. And I think so. So how can an entrepreneur, let's say that I have a lot of fitness entrepreneurs that listen to this podcast, they're in their business, they start, thinking they have to do everything. They've got to chase every rabbit. They've got to be on social media. They've got to have a podcast. They have to be an author. They compete. They run a gym. They teach every class. Do you see where I'm going with this? Yeah. How can they get out of that and get more, automated and systematic?
Well, I think the problem is deeper than that. I think the problem is that, like you said it, you have to do it. You have to do this and you have to do that. No, you don't. The truth is, you can do what you want. There's a big problem in the entrepreneurial world now. It's called ambition appropriation. And it's appropriating yourself the ambitions of someone else, that because like someone does a podcast, if someone does this on social media, that you should do it. It's not, and the problem is that when you follow that, you're going to follow like a work more, work hard type of pattern, right? Need to do
Really get nothing
more.
accomplished.
Yeah, I need to do more, right? Then when you can't do more anymore, you're going to be, oh, I need to work smart, right? So now you're going to try to find some shortcuts, so systems, some things that are going to make you slash productive, the productivity hacks as we call. But guess what? Is a collection. One of my friends always says that. He's like, is a collection of exercise, and fitness people are going to relate to that. Does a collection of exercise make a program? No. It's not just a collecting the hacks of productivity that's going to make you reclaim your time. Instead, look into working right. We have a working right approach to productivity called, that's what being efficient is. Our company ethic, it's shortcut for efficient. And, so efficiency and efficacy. So efficiency, it's achieving what we want using the least amount of resources, and efficacy, it's actually achieving the right outcome.
I love it.
So the thing is that you have to look into what you truly want for yourself. What type of lifestyle do you want? What type of business do you want? What type of income do you want? Like, how do you want to make it? Like, what type of family setting you want? So it's starting with that big picture in mind, and from there looking to reverse engineer what you're doing, right? So from there we have a full methodology at ethic that goes that, but it starts there. It starts with the big picture, and then you start reverse engineering. What is it going to take for me to get there? And now you can work with annual objectives. You can start doing a 90-day plan. It's exactly like fitness. And if you want to compete, and for those who are listening who are competitors, it started with the idea that I want to compete. I want to be on that stage. I want to wait, X amount of, I want to wait that on stage and look like this. You had that big picture in mind and say, well, okay, well, this year the goal is for me to put on 10 pounds of muscle. Okay, great. It's one goal. Now let's start with your first program. We're going to start with the 12-week program, and we're going to do some hypertrophy program. And then we're going to start within this program. Here's the weekly plan. And within each day, on Monday, we're going to train, I don't know, chest. Yeah, because it's International Chest Day. So we train chest on Monday. but you know what I'm saying? And this day, it's a series of different sets. And each set has a series of exercise. And each exercise is a series of movements, right? With a specific tempo. And, this is how you go. And it's the same approach that we took and applied to entrepreneurship, with the ethic methodology.
I love it. An example I really loved in your book is where you said, when you get in your car to drive, you have a destination in mind. And I think so many of us in our lives need to think about our life that way. Like, what is my destination? Otherwise, you're just going to not have any way to measure whether you're reaching your goal, or you're going to be spinning in circles.
100%. And, it all comes back to our resistance to freedom, our resistance to like what it means to be free. And really the big thing to look into is that you can just drive around aimlessly and think that you're free, but bottom line, you're not achieving or not going anywhere, right? Versus when you have the GPS coordinates, when you know exactly where you're going and you have a plan to get there. And now you find ways to optimize this plan so you can actually get there sooner and have all that free time to enjoy where you're going. This is a totally different story. So you can live within the illusion of freedom without having it, or actually, have real freedom. And real freedom comes from structure, and having the right structure and leverage the systems within that structure will make you, will make you free.
So back to my original, where I was talking about the entrepreneur, because I feel like I'm describing so many fitness professionals as far as, being in the business and adding, chasing all these squirrels. How can we stop always chasing more?
It's a good question, and I feel honestly like it's staying true to it's being aligned to what you truly want. I think, it's again, like it's really adhering to the philosophy of working right, working for what is right for you, working with what is right for your capacity, working is what is right to your vision of life in general. Like you can be married with two kids and have a totally different vision, right? Some people are more driven by certain things. Some people don't want to work, a lot. Some people want to work a lot. Like there's so many contexts, and it's being honest with yourself and staying true to your own context, and work right accordingly to it. I feel like it's not black or white where you either work hard or you work smart or you have you're a lifestyle entrepreneur or you are a hustler. There's this specificities, that there's a context to your life and your business that's proper to you, right? So you need to be very true to that. So really assessing what you really want. When you've drifted and you find yourself in the woods lost, it's first of all assessing the situation, saying, okay, where am I and how did I get there? And now it's like, okay, now that I know how I get there, what do I really want now? I'm there. What do I want? And it's starting to create a better plan, the right plan for you, which comes with your big picture. So you start realignment, it's strategic alignment with your big picture, annual goals, and then you start breaking it down until you can actually start with a movement, with one thing, and then one other thing, and another thing, that makes sense, not just adding to it. Activity is not equal productivity. That's a big mistake that everybody does, right? So the more active you're going to be doesn't mean you're going to achieve more. It's just not true.
I feel like your book kind of outlines living rather than just existing. And how can we thrive more instead of this striving? What are ways entrepreneurs can thrive?
That's, again, it's all going to come back to alignment and having the plan to do so, right? Fulfillment is, really, you look at freedom, but really, after a while, the quest is really for fulfillment. You can have all the freedom that you want. If you're not fulfilled by what you do, you're not, you're not going to thrive. You're going to come at one point where you're going to start questioning what you're doing again. There's a, we call the entrepreneurial midlife crisis. And at one point in every single entrepreneur's life, he or she's going to reassess, where they are, because they're like, it's just not working for me. Why? Like, it's not what I had in mind when I first started. Right. So it all comes back to being congruent. Your actions need to be congruent with, again, the alignment, the big picture. And only then you can start thriving. That's the big problem with entrepreneurs. It's a lack of alignment, and the lack of proper prioritization, planning, and also protection that goes around that when it's done.
And I know for entrepreneurs, many times I've witnessed this, that they have a hard time when they start out. I shouldn't say it continues, delegating and inviting other people on and into the dream that they have. I think sometimes we have to get our egos out of the way and realize that other people can do the task as well, if not better. And so, what are some ways entrepreneurs can invite other people into their dream and get out of their own way?
That's the thing, right? We when you start as an entrepreneur or you start with your business, is because you have, a specific solution to a specific problem. It's usually tied to something you do really well. Sometimes it's based out of your, something out of passion that you actually crafted, that like when you start into fitness, for example. Well, guess what? You have to do the work first, you get a good body, and from there you have acquired that knowledge to be able to help other people, right? So we all kind of start like that. But from there is understanding, okay, how can I can't do everything. And it's really, you need to start assessing what's your superpower? What do you do better than most people? And what out of the all the tasks that I'm doing through the week, and when we go through the methodology, the first homework that I give entrepreneurs is to make an assessment of your week. Start documenting your week. Look into the tasks that you're doing at one time and how much time you spend doing these tasks. And from there, you can assess where that stands into what we call the impact matrix. So I talked about, the power moves, or if you're drifting. And from there, based on that, knowing, okay, what type of task should I keep, and what are the tasks I should actually start looking at delegating, outsourcing, or automating. It's following a process, a step-by-step process that gradually, takes care of all the tasks that are not associated with your power zone. So we have a map for that in the book. I don't know if you saw it, the DOA map, where we show you based on any single task is asking yourself, how, if you should delegate, you should outsource, and, if you should automate these tasks. But guess what? Because, think about your genius zone, your power zone, and the 2 to 3 things that you do better than most people. Well, guess what? There's some of the tasks that you're doing that are in your average or subpar zone that it's actually other people's genius. It's in other people's power zone. Leverage that. You need to start leveraging talent. You need to start leveraging, other people's superpowers. And from there, looking at what's the best way for me to do so. Should delegate, outsource, automate. And there's no excuse now. I mean, 10 years ago, maybe. Now there's so many tools where you can outsource so many things, so many processes, so many tasks. You can delegate. I mean, yeah, you need to look into it. So you have to make a clear assessment. If you if you still want to decide to micromanage and do everything, well, guess what? You're still going to be miserable. Like, there's no way. You're not going to grow. You're not going to have the freedom that you want. And trust me, your business is not going to grow. Your business is going to decrease.
Because what happens is you love doing the task, but when you're doing it too much, you start to get burnt out, right?
Well, you need to look into what you love doing too. I'm not against the fact of doing things. Okay, maybe you're okay, or you're average at them and you love doing them. It's not bad. It's not a bad thing. That doesn't mean you should absolutely not do that. But I feel like there's so many tasks that you
get buried.
You get buried, like I used the example of accounting in the book. So, for most entrepreneurs, accounting is not in our power zone, right? It's not something we're naturally good at, but yet we're going to say, oh, well, I'm going to save $2,000 because I'm doing that myself. Yes, but think about all the money you are not making because you spend so much time outside of your power zone doing tasks that are actually costing you more in opportunity cost than really actually making you money, or serving your business. Plus, most of these tasks, because you're not naturally good at them, they carry like a great deal, like you need a great deal of effort to perform these tasks. So they have an energetic cost that's pretty high. And, we always see we can see it from an impact perspective, but most entrepreneurs are going to rationalize that from financial perspective, right? And instead of seeing like what you save, see how much money you're not making by performing these tasks. And obviously, you need the cash flow to support that. You need that, but it's all part of business. It's all part of growing a business, and it doesn't need to happen overnight, right? It's something you need to start doing gradually, and you need to do it right.
And I think it's so funny because of what you're describing. I remember witnessing in our life. I was watching my husband do this real estate project, but I said to him, you could make a whole lot more money and a lot less headache and a lot less time doing what it is you do best. And you were, basically stepping over dollars to pick up pennies over here.
Yeah.
And so once he I think he really got it. I got it because the real estate project did not make money, right?
Mhm.
Not like some of them that we've had. And so he stepped over to the other side of that and started doing what it is he does best. And boy, let me tell you, that's like a night and day difference in everything.
100%, and it all comes. The problem that we have, like why people micromanage, that they are afraid that things are not going to be made the way they want it, that they want it to be. The problem is that they don't document how they want things to be done, right? So there's a whole part in the book where we talk about actually building these routines, building these processes. And then when you have a full process on how to do things, explain exactly through a procedure how you want things to happen. And in the context of business, it's so easy to do, right? It's looking at the recurring task and say, okay, well, this process can be optimized, and here's how I want this task to be performed. From there, that's the starting point to properly, delegating or outsourcing or even optimizing, certain tasks. And then it's going to fall in the lap of actually an expert who knows how to do that. And the expert is going to say, Linda, this is great. This is a great process. And I know exactly how you want to do it. But guess what? I can do it with 30% in 30% less time for half the price. So you're going to say, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, let's do that. And now you can start refining the process, right? But it's unless you can do that where you know that the result is going to be, it's going to be aligned with what you want, with your expectations. But the expert is going to tell you, hey, we can do it this way, this way, and this way. And this is how you things get better. This is how you optimize process. This is how you actually start saving money, and you have things that get, paid for themselves instead of actually losing money or opportunities because of that.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. So spending time in our zone of genius and letting other people use their genius, that is genius.
Yeah, but the truth is that's going to happen overnight. You're not going to wake up tomorrow and say, hey, I'm only going to do everything that, within my power zone or as close to my genius as possible. It's really going to be a gradual thing. It's just to look at what are the things that are in my subpar or ignorance zone that I need to just, start looking seriously into delegating or outsourcing, right? Like, I think like start with accounting. I like very rarely a business owner is going to be like a bookkeeping champion, however, you can tell your bookkeeper like, hey, I would need these KPIs. I need to know, the
It's
website.
a necessary evil. Like if you don't like doing books, you've got to get into the numbers. You have to have somebody do it.
You don't need to master bookkeeping. That's the thing.
No, you can have somebody else do it.
The metrics that you need to know, and telling your bookkeeper like, every month I need this, and this metric. And from that's all you need to know. You don't need the intricates of putting the actual, book entry into QuickBooks, for example. Like, you don't need to know that. So that's someone else's job. We can do that a lot faster and a lot better than you.
How do we figure out, because I think many of us struggle with this, what our superpower is? Because I think a lot of times we're too close to it. Yep. We don't even realize it's special.
Yeah. It all comes back to self-awareness in some ways. It's understanding based on history, based on metrics. Like when I did that, I got results, right? So for example, when you work out, that when I do incline bench press, my chest muscles grow. And when I do this type of workout, I don't get that many results, right? It's the same thing in business. And it takes some self-awareness to say, okay, well, when I do this, or it doesn't need to be a task or a specific thing. It could be like, it could be a theme. It could be when I do more, for example, for me, when I do more talking, or when I'm on podcasts, or I speak on stage, or when I do more of this, my business does better, right? It's just a fact. So he says, okay, well, how can I do more of that? I don't have like, maybe it's one thing in particular, and I can go deep down to I can pinpoint it to maybe one thing, but overall, this is what I do more. And in order for me to do more of that, I need to offload my plate of the things that, I'm not necessarily that passionate about. So look into maybe indicators of, first of all, I think you have to eliminate before you actually start. You go by elimination. So look into the tasks that are actually draining, that you're like, oh, I hate doing this. That's a clear indicator that you need to actually, don't force it. Like, find a way to optimize. And little by little, as you trim the fat, you're going to start realizing, where your true power is. And then you go deeper and deeper and deeper into it until you end up really focusing more of your time onto into things that you're really good at. There's also the notion of fulfillment when it comes to it. Sometimes what I say is like, sometimes you can be great at doing one thing, but you're like, it's cool. I'm great at doing that, but I'm not really fulfilled anymore with it. It's fine to bring things also that bring you that fulfillment, right? With respect of your energy and obviously your time, your attention, and your energy, while managing these finite resources properly.
I think I'm a multipreneur because I find a lot of things that I love and enjoy and could be good at. So sometimes it makes it harder than it's like when you're poor, you don't have very many dresses in your closet, but then all of a sudden you make an income and you have tons of outfits to choose from. It's like that with a multipreneur. How do they then, I mean, otherwise it's going to be a juggling act. How do they choose?
Yeah, the best way to kill passion is to make it a business sometimes, and not everything needs to be addressed as a business, or
Right. I agree.
some things should be just, on a hobby perspective, and doing them because you
Right.
enjoy doing them, and not necessarily turning them into a business, right?
Right,
So
making it maybe bite size and enjoyable so you have an escape from your, sometimes you do. I hate to say an escape because I think if you're really living your passion, you may not feel like you need an escape.
mhm.
But there are times that you need something to just kind of jolt you out of, like if you go outside and you hike or you do something that's just different out of your normal, it actually stimulates your creativity, I think.
I always say whatever floats your boat. Like, happiness should be the main factor. Like, honestly, if you're not happy with what you're doing, that's very binary. It's a yes or a no. I get it.
Love
Sometimes
it.
you're like, okay, well, you have to do it, or you don't have the resources, you need to do something for a while, but it's being conscious that this is the first thing that, I'm working right now to replace that so I can do this instead. Right. And happiness should always be the main factor. I think we just, again, like, we corner ourselves, or we paint ourselves as entrepreneurs that we should do this and we should do that. We don't. Like, just listen to your instinct. You're listening to your gut feeling. Say, the gut feeling is a great binary decision tool. It's a yes or a no. Do I feel it or I don't feel it? Start there. And it doesn't need to be complicated. And if it makes you happy, do it. If you hate doing it, don't do it. Find a way to make it, like, find a way to make it happen, right? So obviously it's a process. We explain that process in the book, to really go from the full mess to an actual well-oiled life and business, if you want. But it takes time, and it takes to do the steps in the right order, right? You're not going to start growing by doing crunches on the floor, without a specific plan, you know.
What are some tips for business owners to step more out of their business so that it can kind of run itself?
Well, again, it's a process, right? I think it all comes back to knowing exactly what it takes for your business to run. So what are the actual tasks that need to be performed on a daily basis in order for this business to run properly? and look into standardizing these tasks as much as possible and putting these tasks into other people's hands. So you can either outsource, you can either delegate, or even automate. It's like, okay, well, you look at a gym. Well, you need to clean that gym. Like, I don't think that most gym owners clean their own floors daily. They have someone to do it. Yeah, maybe when you start and you have a low budget, you can start doing that. But then you realize that, hey, now I have 100 members in my gym. I can afford to take that because that's going to free me up some time to, go and do more prospecting, go and do more of what I do great, right? So looking at all these things that you can start standardizing in some way. So building a standard routine for this. Here's what you do. You want to clean, well, you clean the floors, then you spray the machines, then you go clean the locker room, then you do this. See, there's a process to do that. And then you can go as deep as saying, hey, when you clean the shower, you use this type of cleaner. When when you clean the machines, you use this type of cloth and this and that. You can have the full procedures for that person is going to be executing, right? So
right.
it's getting there. I mean, removing yourself from the little things in your business that prevent you from actually gaining that altitude you need to regain in order to understand where you're going, right? When you drifted and you're in the forest and you're lost, well, guess what? It's hard sometimes to see beyond the trees. You need
I think a lot of people listening can relate to that.
You need to gain that altitude. And sometimes you need a coach. Sometimes you need a book. Sometimes you need a system that's going to tell you, turn right, do this, and if you turn right, walk 100 feet, then turn left, and then make a sharp right, you're going to come to an open area and you're going to come out of the woods. Well, you need maybe someone that has that altitude to tell you that, right? And it's not easy when you're an entrepreneur and you have the nose in your business to understand that, right? So gaining altitude is a big part, and realizing where you are too. When you're lost, but okay, I'm here. I know where I want to go. Here's a path, at least to get back on the road and start driving.
I love it. This is so good. What are the 8 signs that you are getting in the burnout zone? And that, that's kind of, to me, the danger zone.
Yeah. The burnout zone is a dangerous place to be in. And again, it comes with the drift, and you start driving and all of a sudden the landscape is as pleasant, right? So you got to look for signs. You have to look into your energy. You have to look into what really is what you're doing really energizing. Is it energizing you or is it draining you? Right. And when you have that feeling, and when you start looking at your energy and your health, I would say, not just from a physical standpoint, but also from an emotional standpoint, or when you have a specific task and you realize, oh my God, this brings me anxiety. Right. In my business, for example, I came to a point where I was running 3 businesses at the same time. Right. And this is when I started actually building the systems for myself, because I was burning out. And the problem is that I was so busy. And I remember there was the need for systems in my business, because I had too many meetings, for example. Right. I just had too many calls. And I remember the Skype, the ring from the music, the ringing from Skype was giving me anxiety. Okay. I was becoming anxious, because for me, it was like, oh no, not something again, like another thing added to my plate. And I know I couldn't take it anymore. Right. So it's really understanding that and being, I would say it's better to be proactive than reactive. The problem is that we don't do anything until we actually, when our backs are against the wall. It's like our health, right? You see a lot of people in the fitness, but well, I had a heart attack. I need to start exercising and eating right. We need these warning signs that are, it's never too late, but it's sometimes we're very deep. And that could have been prevented if we had done this, and that. And my advice for all entrepreneurs is that don't wait until you're burnt out. Don't wait until like you're at the bottom, the bottom of the barrel, and you've hit rock bottom. It like you need to be proactive with it, right? And if you feel there's right now things are not right, it's time now to start, being proactive with your future.
So we have learned so much from you today, and I think everybody out there is going to be thinking of ways that they can save their time and their energy. Now, let's say that we've done all that and we have got to the point where everything is running smoothly. We're making millions of dollars. Okay. How do we stay hungry?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. So it depends what you're hungry for. I think you need to look into always think. I'm always going to go back to that, but it's to understand yourself, have that self-awareness. All right. That I call that self-leadership, but it's this really self-leadership is to have the self-awareness of knowing exactly like who you are and what you want. Self-respect, which is respecting that and respecting also the path, right? And self-discipline to stay on course. And I think once you do that and things are going great, this is a good time to look into your big picture and saying, okay, how can maybe you're going to look in, we have an exercise called the big picture, and it shows you probably read in the book, Linda, like it shows you, paints a portrait of your future, of how you want your future to actually look like. And we're being very, very specific with examples. And now maybe it's time to reconsider that big picture. Maybe that means that big picture or your dream life is not big enough. Maybe you need to set bigger goals for yourselves. Maybe you need to set some impossible goals for yourselves, things that are going to be like out of your reach. If you're still hungry for that, you know what I mean? A lot of entrepreneurs feel like they need to go and do this, while some entrepreneurs just want to have a very nice, slow-paced, harmonious life. So it all comes back to your ambition. It really all comes back to your ambitions, right? The fact that you have $1 million in the bank is not a gauge of fulfillment, right? So it's always
exactly
fulfillment, right? You can stay hungry, but if you're not hungry anymore, things are going well, but you feel like you want to do more, like look into your big picture and set up maybe, more ambitious goal for yourselves, right? If you want to challenge yourself that way, and
yeah, because I think you get stagnant if like let's say you have millions and you're where you want to be. I think if you don't stay hungry, then there's the danger of getting stagnant.
Yeah, it is, and again, it all comes back to your context. How old are you? What's your financial situation? Do you have 1 million or do you have 100 millions? What do you want to do with this money? What do you want out of your impact? Some people are going to be driven by purpose and impact. Yeah. And I think most entrepreneurs are. I think they reach a point where financial freedom is achieved. They have all the time in the world. They've created what they really want. Now most entrepreneurs are not just going to sit on their millions and do nothing. They will look for ways to make it work, right? So usually it's never a problem with entrepreneurs. I feel you always have that will to go to the next, level, whether it's personal, whether when it comes to your wealth, your health, or whatever, but also giving back at one point. I feel like there's a sense of purpose that comes with time, that comes with experience, that, maybe some entrepreneurs are not there in their lives now because they're still struggling financially. And until they've achieved financial freedom, they're not going to have that sense of, I would say, legacy, right? But I feel like every single achieved entrepreneur at one point, especially when the financial freedom side of things has been achieved, they're going to look for legacy. They're going to look for, okay, what do I want to survive when I'm dead? What do I want to, like, if there's some things that I can have done from my time living on this earth and that can sustain, the test of time, even when I'm gone, it's gone. And in the book, we talked about a lot about sustainability. It's not about hacks. It's not about doing things short term. It's about doing things long term and in a sustainable fashion. And it goes the same way with ideas or with projects or with businesses. It's how can I bring that to, something that's really greater than myself and also can last, beyond my time on this earth.
I love that. And just deciding what can I do that's sustainable, because a lot of times I think we may have these big dreams of things that aren't sustainable, or if we don't invite others in, they're definitely not sustainable.
Yeah, and it's also, when it comes to self-leadership, it's to live according to your own capacity, your own ambition. I mean, I see a lot of people saying like, "Oh, I want to be the next Elon Musk." No, like if you would be the next Elon Musk, you would know it. Like it's. I feel like, see, that's a certain thing. We idealize other people, and we want to do like they do. And even though they can become inspirations, you need to be very right. Like you need to, like your mission should be to know yourself like so well that you always know what to do, but honestly, it starts with self-leadership starts with self-discipline, and self-discipline will bring you self-respect, and self-respect will bring you self-awareness, and that combination will bring you better self-leadership. And it's a journey, and with time you're always going to learn to know yourself even more, but lead yourself even to greater standards as you evolve as a human, as an entrepreneur, right? So it's a never ending journey, right? I mean, it's like, think about, like, if you're into fitness and you're listening to this, think about when you started, think about when you are now. And like, if you competed like we did, Linda, like, some people, like, I don't know, like, I'm not interested in competing anymore. I've done that. Like, I had what I got to do from that side of things. I still love taking care of myself. I still love to, but I know myself now. I'm in a different stage. My priorities changed.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm in a different stage now. Right.
I'm not the same dude that I was when I was 23 years old. Right. So like, my context has evolved. I'm not the same. What I was applying to my life at 23. There's some, concepts that I carried, but now I'm discovering a new, myself in a new journey or in a new period of my life, and I need to discover a new side of me. As humans, we're complex beings. We're not one sided. We're not, we don't do one thing like this. We're not monochrome. We're full
Right.
spectrum, right?
Right. We're ever evolving. And I think many times you have to give up old dreams to have space for new dreams.
Yeah.
And yeah, have to let go so that you can step into the new things that are there for you.
100%, but you need to reassess that. That's what I always say, like, when we do the big picture exercise, we always recommend to do it once a year. Why? Because your life changes, your context changes, things change, you drift, your priorities change, you don't know like what's coming. So you need to do that exercise. Like, it's not like, oh, I do it once and it's decided for the rest of my life. No, I mean, you're going to see it's going to be it's going to be very similar, probably from one year to another, with slight differences. And then but if you compare it, let's say 10 years from now, it might be completely different. You didn't even notice, but your two big pictures are different because it evolved with time and with time and experience and context.
I find it so funny that you say that, because this year probably was the first year in years that when I wrote out all my goals, we do a whole process and I outlined everything. I didn't write competing. Anything to do with competing was not on there. And that was completely organic. I didn't think about not including it. I didn't think about including it. It just isn't where I am anymore.
Yeah. But then, like, for you now is to have the discipline to say, let's live my life according to this, to my decisions, to the big picture that I made for myself. Because now you might have your your buddies say, "Oh, Linda, you need to compete again. Do this and
Oh
do that.
yeah.
And you have to do that."
You
You know?
know, this is
But
true.
this is when we start not being aligned with what we truly want, right? So it's always, I would say, the frequency at which you check in your big picture, your annual guideline, your actual goals, and you check in with these goals. This is how you can really stay aligned. And being aware of, okay, this week, like I was totally not aligned. I fucked up there. I fucked up there. Next week, I'm going to do this and that are going to bring me back on track. And it's all part of the self-awareness process and self-respect and self-discipline that leads to self-leadership.
And for my buddies that are listening that are freaking out right now out there, I'm not saying I'll never compete again. It's just not going to be for a while because, like you said, I have other priorities right now that I need to pay my time, attention, and focus to.
I mean, it's fine. We all, if you would, my last show was in 2010, right? So it's been 11 years now. It's been a while. But, at that time, let's say, or 2008, 2009, if you have told me like, oh, fitness is not necessarily going to be your passion and you're not going to be into that, space as deep as you are now. I was like, no, I love doing that. Like that's all my whole life. Like I was so immersed into it. But guess what? Things change. And I had my first kid 7 years ago. Things changed. Had a second kid. Things change again, and you see life through another lens.
Right.
It happens. It happens.
Yeah. And it was a year and a half ago since my last show. And many things have changed since then. I'm going to be a granny coming up in June. So I want to have time for that.
Big step. That's a big step.
Yeah. And, and there's just so many other dreams I want to fulfill and live out. And so I think you have to give yourself grace, space, and permission to do that. Mm-hmm. And I love that you say, leave a legacy. What legacy do you hope to leave?
For me, I hope, like, from a not selfish, but selfish standpoint, but for myself, just myself, I hope I'm going to be a good father example for my daughters. Like that's the way I want to, there's a legacy that I want to do directly. But then, with what I've learned in this lifetime and what I've did in this lifetime and, my work with the books or the tools that I'm providing, if I can help, entrepreneurs become better self-leaders and actually enjoy more freedom. So obviously more financial freedom, but more freedom of time to do what they want and creative freedom of creating things that actually matter. Mission accomplished. I don't know. I have no control over that. I just have control over what I create and what I put out there. And, that ethic started because I was not fulfilled with my career. Even though we were generating millions and millions of dollars, I was not fulfilled with it. Right. And for me, I know I had a greater purpose than that. And it was not about the money. It was about first creating,
right,
but also having the time, one, for my kids, and second, time to shine, time to do what I do best. And, that's what I did. So hopefully, there's, I don't know if you can see, I don't think are you going to show the video? There's I don't know if you can see the frame here behind the muscle guy, but it's one of my friends who draw that. It's an artist called Derek Rodenbeck. And Derek was a former mastermind student of mine. And it's called An Idea Lives Forever. And you can see it's a skull and you have a flower piercing through the skull, right? With the roots and the flower on top going through the head. And it says an idea lives forever. But the thing is that for me, the conversations was not about the idea. It was about how can I make an idea live forever? What needs to happen for an idea to live forever? And it all comes back to creating a structure around that and a system that's going to make it sustainable so it can stand the test of time and trends, right? So hopefully what I'm doing now is going to be sustainable enough that it can live beyond, that my ideas can live beyond myself and impact people that way.
I love that. I love that so much. And I think that's going to be a good note for us to end on, and something for everybody out there to ponder. And this has been so good today. I really appreciate your entire journey from athlete to entrepreneur, and love the book. I mean, can you believe I didn't even say, how do we get done by noon? I mean,
Yeah.
that's probably the question you get asked a lot. Everybody wants to be done by noon, but to be done by noon, you guys are going to have to get the book. Where can they get that?
So you can grab the book at donebynoonbook.com. So we're actually handing out free copies right now. You can grab a free copy. You pay for shipping, but we hand out the complimentary copy. So donebynoonbook.com. And yeah, read it and let me know, what you like. We have all of our tools and systems that we sell at effic.co, EFFIC.co. And yeah, hope you enjoy it. For those fitness fanatics out there, I think you're really going to love the Done by Noon book, because we draw a lot of parallels between fitness and entrepreneurship. So yeah, I think you're going to like that.
I love it. I love it so much. That's great. And where can everybody reach you on social media?
Social media at daveruel.com. So DAVERUEL at Dave Ruel. So yeah, you can check me on Instagram or Facebook. Yeah, mostly active on Facebook. You can even send me a friend request on Facebook. I still got some space, and yeah, it's mostly where I'm most active. And we also have the podcast, so donebynoonpodcast.com, which is, if you want to listen to, I think if you want to know myself better, I think the podcast is the best way to go for it. So
perfect. Well, thank you, and thanks everybody for listening to this episode of the Sisterhood of Sweat.
Thank you, Linda.